You may be seated.
Hello, Your Honor.
Hello.
This is a case of Ellis versus Koger.
Thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone.
Good day.
Ms. Ellis, you claim you had a brief fling with the defendant 3 years ago. Soon after, you ended up pregnant, and now you hope to prove that he fathered your 3-year-old son, Zamarian.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Koger, you argue it would have to be a medical miracle for you to be her child's father. And you're asking the court not to order a paternity test.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so, Mr. Koger, I have to ask you, you're here in paternity court. Why do you oppose the test?
Because we didn't have sex. We did not have sex.
So he says.
Okay.
Oh, we did.
Mr. Koger,
Yes.
tell me how you met.
We would hang out. When we met, we were cool. We would talk on the phone, laugh it up, stuff like that. So it came to the point where she wanted to come over and stuff like that. So if she would come over, we would hang out. Over the next course of time, we ended up being home alone. There's nothing wrong with her. There was nothing wrong with me. We both was attracted to each other, and came about where, hey, might want to go upstairs and, fool around, mess around, or whatever. So that's what happened. We, took our time, walked up the steps. I knew what was going to happen. I was hoping that it would happen, but it didn't. So like I said, we got upstairs, and I took my clothes off. She took hers off, and then that's when she proceeded to tell me about some kind of vaginal discomfort or something like that, where she could not have intercourse at all.
It was painful at the time for me to have sex, yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you told him you did not want to have sex.
No, that was after the fact that we hadn't already started.
Okay, and you're saying that you never started having sex?
Yes, Your Honor, I have proof of that.
I'd like to see that proof. Jerome? This is a message.
We never messed around at all.
You said it hurt to have sex, and then you say, Miss Ellis, 'cause it did, but I can take it now.
We never had intercourse at any time.
This only goes to prove that the testimony that you're giving right now is the truth. Because she's saying if you say so, because she thinks you did have sex.
And if we didn't have sex, why did you inbox me and ask me, am I certain that my son is not yours?
Well, Your Honor, I have something.
Hold on, we'll get there in 1 second. So, Miss Ellis, tell me your account of that evening, because this is a different story here. I mean, he says you did not have sex. You said you did, and you all got messages that confirmed that each of you believe something different happened. What happened in your estimation?
Okay, we were alone. We was watching a movie at the time. We was eating, chilling or whatever. And then, we started, talking about sexual stuff or whatever. We went upstairs. As he said, he got undressed, I got undressed. And I was like, okay, it hurts. And he was like, you want me to stop? So I was like, no, you can keep going or whatever. Oh. So he kept going. And so I was like, okay, now it's starting to hurt a little too bad now. Can you stop or whatever?
So bottom line is, and we'll say this politely, you say she experienced pain before sex, so you never had sex with her.
She told me.
And you're saying that it was painful during the sex and you asked him to stop.
Yes, Your Honor.
And he did.
Yes.
All right, let's fast forward now to the point where you realize you're pregnant.
Okay, one day me and my mom, we was out having Mother-Daughter Day, shopping, going out to eat and everything. So we're walking to a shopping mall or whatever, and next thing you know, I passed out. And I had to be rushed to the hospital. I woke up, I'm in the hospital room, I'm not knowing, what's going on, what to do. And so a nurse came in the room and she was like, okay, you had passed out, we feel like you had a heat stroke, so we're gonna give you some fluids and everything, draw some blood to see what happened. They drew some blood, the nurse came back in the room, asked my mom to step out the room. So she came to me and she was like, do you know that you're pregnant? So I was like, no, I'm not. Can you, do another test? So she was like, is your name Ms. Ellis? So I was like, yeah. She was like, oh, okay, well, you're pregnant. I was like, out of all people, I'm pregnant, really? So when I found out I was pregnant, I was already 8 weeks and 3 days pregnant. So I was already talking to somebody else. The dude who I was talking to, I had only told him and my mother. Those were the only 2 people that knew I was pregnant. Nobody else in my family knew. He didn't know. Nobody knew I was pregnant. But
Mr. Koger didn't even know?
No.
So, Mr. Koger, how did you find out about the pregnancy?
I found out via Facebook.
Oh.
Facebook.
And I have my ultrasound picture. I have my ultrasound picture when I found out.
I was scrolling, we was friends on Facebook. I scrolled through her pictures, found out she was pregnant. I saw her stomach, she was all pregnant, stuff like that. So, yes, I did ask her. I said, hey, you pregnant? What's your thoughts on it? Do you somehow think that it might be mine?
No, you didn't say, do I somehow think it might be yours? You said, is it mine?
I said, do you think the baby is mine? Okay. And what did you say?
I told you no, because I didn't want to have nothing to do with it. I'm not a drama person.
It was no drama.
I was with somebody else.
It was no drama at all. I politely asked you. I said, hey.
He said that he would be there for my child, so I didn't want the extra drama. I did not want to confuse my son with my son calling one person dad and another person dad. I'm not that type of person.
Mr. Koger, now you claim you didn't have sex with her, so why would you be asking her if the child was yours? If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell.
Well, the only reason I asked is because the only thing we did was just tussle around in the bed. Like I said, I never had sex.
Had you been intimate with anybody else during the time you were with Mr. Koger?
Yes. A week or so prior to us messing around, yes.
So a week or so prior to you and Mr. Koger having the sex that you may not have had, you were intimate with someone else?
Yes.
Without protection?
Yes.
All right. You have evidence as well. Jerome, let me see that, please. So here, Mr. Koger, you point blank ask, how's the baby? Do you think it's mine? And then you respond, the baby's doing okay, and no, I don't think it's yours. And then you say, okay. Was that the truth, or were you just saying?
No, I just didn't want him involved.
But I mean, why?
Because I was with somebody else, and they said that it was going to be there, so what's the point?
Well, the point would be if he's the child's biological father, he would have a right to know, and so would the child.
I feel like he should have the right to know, but still.
Mr. Koger, you're doing a lot of texting about this baby and this encounter that never happened.
Exactly, for us to not have sex.
I'm just saying.
Because it's a baby involved. It's a baby involved.
But are you sure you never had sex with her?
I'm sure, Your Honor. I'm sure.
Okay. And so, Mr. Koger, do you see yourself?
Not one bit.
You don't?
No, ma'am.
My son has similarities, like the way that they smile, him and my son smile just alike. I have that picture too.
Let me see that, Jerome. When you first had the baby looked so much like you, you just didn't have to consider.
No.
And then as he started to get older, you thought
my son started to get older because the person who I was talking to passed away last year.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And before he passed away, he told me that I should tell him, but I didn't want to. My cousin is the main reason why I wrote him on Facebook and told him that it's a possibility that you might be my son's father.
Your Honor, we talked on the phone. This was last year. We talked on the phone. I said, well, we didn't have sex. I had on speakerphone. So she was like, well, yeah, I know. She said, yeah, I said, well, okay. I said, well, I'll support you. And whatever you're going through, whatever's going on, I will support you. Regardless of how crazy it seemed, I still support you. Like I said, we never had sex. We never.
All right, so Mr. Koger, you brought a witness.
Yes.
Please stand, ma'am. State your name.
Hi, Yana. I'm Tamika Williams.
Hi, Ms. Williams, and you are Mr. Koger's wife.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what is your understanding concerning this situation?
My understanding is it's not his child, and I support my husband in the whole thing because there's no reason for him to lie about something that happened before we even got together.
He lied about a lot of things. You don't know about a lie.
He doesn't have to lie about having sex with anyone. And on top of that, he called her in front of me and put it on speakerphone, and he asked her the same incident.
Did he tell you we had sex in the car?
Excuse me. She's speaking to me.
Before we had sex in the house?
He asked her.
Hold on one second. Let me hear from the witness. Go ahead, ma'am.
He asked her, do you remember when you said that you were having a problem with your vagina or whatever? And she said, yes, I remember that. So why are you saying that I'm the father? She was like, I don't know.
This is the conversation
This is a conversation I overheard.
With your own ears.
With my own ears. This is not hearsay.
I have a calendar when me and him had this inquirement.
Jerome, let me see this evidence, please. You have a calendar.
The part that's in the green, that's around that time in that week, I did the whole week. For the main fact, I don't remember exactly what day me and my ex had sex that week, but I know for a fact that following week, where the car is, that we had sex that day, and we had sex in the car.
You had sex in a car?
Mm-hmm.
So,
because he said his sister was home.
So this was after the...
No, this was before.
Wait a minute now, you left that piece of information out. So the whole time when you say you were alone with him and...
That was the second time.
The second
Okay,
time.
well...
We only had one encounter. We only had one encounter at my
Your
sister's
Honor.
house.
That's
it
a
was
lie, Your Honor.
upstairs. She told me she couldn't mess around with me, and I said, okay, and we left it alone. I haven't
So
seen
all this time I'm sitting up worrying about whether you had sex or didn't have sex this time upstairs in this house, and you had already had sex in the car?
We had never had sex in nobody's car.
And you don't remember this either, Mr. Koger?
Because it didn't happen.
We
didn't have sex at all. We never had
He's
sex.
gonna lie
so one
regardless,
time
but
she
yes.
can take it, and next time she can't.
Let me look at these dates. All right, so the car happened on the 7th of July. You were having sex with the ex at the end of June. So it's really only a week apart.
She don't know who she slept with.
And just like you don't know who your man is.
I don't know who my man is. My husband.
Why you? We don't know that's your husband. Your last name Williams. His last name
Coincidentally, Your
Koger.
Honor, she decided to hit him up
Just
4 months after.
Just like you don't know your man was trying to come to see me yesterday, so it's nothing.
Okay,
I got the messages for that too.
Hold on, ladies, hold on. Let's deal with the matter at hand. Let's deal with
That's
the matter
all
at
that
hand.
matters is let me find out who my son father is. Your opinion doesn't
let's
matter.
deal with the matter at hand. I believe there
My opinion
is
does matter.
sufficient
Not really.
All right, y'all go ahead and argue back and forth, and then we won't have no test. And you can just sit at home all day wondering who the child's father is. Because this don't make any sense. Proceed. Are we ready?
Yes.
So, Mr. Koger, you came into this courtroom today asking the court not to administer a paternity test. Your petition, Ms. Ellis, is that the court should.
Yes.
Based upon what's been presented here, I believe there is sufficient evidence to order that a paternity test be administered.
Yes, it is.
I am ordering that you all leave this courtroom immediately, have the test administered, and we will reconvene here when the test results are in. Are we clear?
Yes.
All right, court is adjourned. Now, we've returned to court to conclude the matter of Ellis v. Koger as it relates to 3-year-old Zamarian. You've been tested, the results are in, and before we get to those results, I'd like to talk to you about your hopes for the future. What are you feeling?
Because this is, my feelings are hurt for the main fact because I grew up in foster care. I didn't know my real mom until I turned 17. I don't want my son to grow up not knowing who his dad is.
Mr. Koger, what are your hopes?
My hopes is that Zamarian, he's old, to know whether I'm his father or not.
Do you have any relationship with him?
I never seen him. I just don't.
Never, ever seen
I
him?
never seen him. Only through
3 years old?
Yeah, 3 years old.
So, Mr. Koger, before we get to the results, you say you came to Miss Ellis and she turned you away.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you now saying in court that you did in fact have a sexual relationship with her?
I'm
Do you
not saying
remember
that.
the car incident
No,
now?
I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all.
All right, well, that's your testimony and you sticking to it. Jerome, the envelope, please.
There you go.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics and they read as follows. In the case of Ellis v. Koger, pertaining to 3-year-old Zamarian Johnson, Mr. Koger, Do you want to watch Paternity Court on TV? Go to paternitycourt.tv to find your local listings. In the case of Ellis v. Koger, pertaining to 3-year-old Zamarian Johnson, Mr. Koger, you are Zamarion's father.
Okay.
Is your memory coming back now?
Not at all. Not at all, Your Honor. Not at all. I don't have no reason to lie about it or, damn.
So you still don't remember?
I do not. I don't.
Well, he's yours, so.
Okay.
What are you thinking, Miss Ellis?
Because he's still denying the fact that we had sex. It's nothing to deny. I'm not finna lie on somebody saying I had sex with somebody if I didn't. That's not the type of person I am.
Miss Williams, what's going on in terms of your husband and his testimony that he never had sex with her? Do you feel like he's lying, or do you really feel like he doesn't remember?
I still believe him. He's never had to lie about anyone that he slept with.
Well, you can keep believing your husband. Your husband gonna keep lying to you, and you're gonna keep believing his lies.
Listen, I want to say this, Your Honor. He's my son now. That's the whole reason we're here. He's my son.
And that's it.
Would you like to meet your son?
Yes.
That's the main reason I came. I didn't.
Would
want
that
to
be
cause
okay,
confusion.
Miss Ellis?
Yes, he can see him.
Good. I will see you in my chambers. Court is adjourned.
What's up, bud?
You have a beautiful, beautiful little boy.
Thank you.
And I'm so happy that you know the truth. Good luck to you all.
Thank you.
See you, man. Can I get a high five?